All right, so welcome everyone to another mindfulness session, another chance to sit together and just explore ourselves and explore the present moment. I want to start by acknowledging that I'm broadcasting from the traditional lands of the Dja Dja Wurrung people and pay my respects to elders past, to present and emerging, and to any Aboriginal people on the call today or watching on Catch Up or Torres Strait Islander people. So we'll start our session in a moment. As usual, I'll probably suggest that during the session, you might want to close your eyes, or if not, just find somewhere to look where you won't get distracted. And other than that, just sit comfortably, relax. You can't do mindfulness wrong. So whatever happens in the session, if you're drifting off into thought, that's fine. If you're really focused and calm, that's fine. And if there's a lot of emotion coming up, that's fine too. So just get yourselves comfortable. Find somewhere to look where you won't be distracted, or close your eyes. And we'll start by just taking our attention inside the body and just noticing, what does it feel like to breathe in? And what does it feel like to breathe out? So we've probably started our days with a lot of thinking, a lot of remembering, a lot of projecting, and maybe some judgment, some resistance. And right now we're just shifting our attention away from thought and away from thinking, and just noticing what it feels like to breathe. So you can pay attention to your mouth, nose, how it feels as the air comes in, how it feels as the air goes out. And you might want to play with that a little as well. Take one breath in through the mouth. Notice what that feels like. Take the next breath in through the nose. Notice what that feels like. And as we do that, we're not really interested in labeling that experience or comparing, contrasting. What we want to do is be engaged in feeling the breath directly in the moment, in this moment. We're pulling attention into that direct experience. And this can be quite unusual because we're not used to really experiencing things. We're used to thinking about them. We're used to evaluating them. All we want to do now is just feel. And I invite you to also notice what else happens in your body with each in-breath and each out-breath. Feel how your chest moves. Feel how your shoulders move. And we can expand that to notice what the whole breath feels like. To notice mouth, nose, chest, shoulders, all as one experience. You might notice as you breathe that some parts of your body are a little tense or might have got locked in an uncomfortable position. So as we sit and move through this practice, your body might be telling you to move or stretch or shift. And I want to encourage you to just listen to that and follow it. So if that means changing position, then change position. If that means stretching or moving something, then do so. Or if that just means allowing shoulders to relax, allowing your back to just relax as you sink into the chair. We want to listen to the body, really feel it directly. And whenever you get lost in a thought, whenever your attention is dragged off into some past or future projection, as soon as you notice, just bring your attention back to the body, to this breath right now. And just for now, just for this little while, let's set aside the past and not ignore it or get rid of it. But just make a commitment as much as we can to just leave the past alone and just be here, feeling this breath, feeling the body now. And let's all also make a commitment to leave the future alone. So just put it down. It will still be there at the end of this session. We'll be able to pick it up if necessary. Just for now, just put it down and just feel the breath and feel the body. So two of the major things that we spend our time thinking about, we've just set aside for now, past and future. And also just for now, let's set aside opinion and judgment. So let's just put down all evaluation of what's happening now. Just leave it alone and purely experience it instead. And again, those thoughts might come on their own. Let's see if we can just leave them alone. Any thoughts about what should be, what shouldn't be, any judgments about what's happening in the body, about what's happening in the mind. Just set it all aside, along with past and future. And also, just for this moment, let's set aside any thought that begins with the word I. I want, I need, I am, I'm not, I should, I shouldn't. All of those I thoughts, let's just put them to the side too, along with those judgments and along with thoughts of past and future. And again, those thoughts may come all on their own, but let's see if we can just leave them alone and just let them pass through as we continue to feel the breath and experience the body directly right now. So in this moment, in this practice, we're not trying to achieve anything. We can set aside all aims or goals, all intentions, and make our only aim to feel the breath now, to notice what's happening now. So we're setting aside any outcome, any desire for future progress or change. And just feeling this. In breath and out breath. And let's set aside any attempt to improve ourselves. Just for now, allow yourself to be exactly as you are and experience yourself exactly as you are right now without any need for that to change. So we set aside all thoughts of something other than this, all evaluation, all identity, and just breathe. And just feel the coming and going of the breath. Whatever comes and goes in this space, during this breath is fine. Any thought that comes is fine. Any emotion that comes is fine. We don't need to get caught up in them, or change them, or get rid of them, or play with them. We can just breathe and notice what's happening now. So as we sit, let's take some attention to the thoughts themselves. Not get lost in them, but see if you can stay anchored in the breath awareness, and just watch as the thoughts come and go. Just observe them, allow them, notice them. Without following them down some path and without fighting with them either. Just notice, just watch. And as you watch, just notice the way those thoughts arise inside you. And then disappear of their own accord without any effort on your part. They don't ask you permission to come or go. And notice how you don't create those thoughts. Thoughts just arise. And keep feeling the breath and feeling the body as you watch. And notice how you're not the thought itself. How you're the one who's watching the thought. You're the one who's watching the breath. You're the one that notices everything that comes and goes. So keep feeling the breath, feeling the body, and just sense yourself as that awareness that's there in the background, watching, observing. And notice how that awareness sometimes gets lost in thought, sometimes becomes identified with a thought, starts to believe it. And when you do become identified with a thought and start to believe it, notice how that feels. How does that feel in the body? What is that experience like? And then when you come out of that thought and you return to the breath and the body, to this instant, notice how that feels. Because the voice in our heads tells us that the way to happiness is to listen to those thoughts and do what they say. The voice in our head is laying out a plan for future happiness by following the rules set out by those thoughts. And yet when we watch, pay attention, we can notice, keep feeling your breath as you listen. We can notice how the stress, the worry, the fear and the suffering comes when we get lost in those thoughts, when we believe them, when we get caught up in storytelling. And we can notice also that when we're fully engaged in this moment, and whether that be in meditation, or whether that be doing something you love, listening to music, cooking, gardening, working, running, that when we're fully engaged in this moment, we feel this sense of calm and peace that's alive and vibrant and exciting, adventurous. And yet when we're lost in thoughts and goals and aspirations and desires, we can also notice the contrast of the stress and the worry that that brings. So when that voice tells us that it has a plan for our future happiness, we can start to see through that. So let's come back to the breath, the body, and to watching how thought operates, how that voice operates. Notice how those thoughts, if you watch them arising, how they arise within this empty space that's there inside you. If you sit and watch as thoughts come and go, you will notice that they arise out of this space inside you and disappear back into that space. And so we have the three elements of experience. We have the thing that's arising, the thought, the event. We have the space in which it arises. And we have the awareness that's watching as that thought rises and falls, comes and goes. And so you can sense yourself as that awareness that's there in the background watching. And you can allow your attention to just rest in that space, in that inner stillness that's there, even when thought is arising, even when it seems busy. That space is still there, that stillness. And all we need to do is to notice, to feel the breath, to feel the body, and to just watch. And as the breath comes and goes, and as you watch those thoughts, notice what else is happening in the body. Notice what sensations are arising. And we can just be curious and notice what's happening in your hands. What do you feel in your hands right now? What do you feel in your arms? In your chest? Your back? What about your legs, your feet? And take some time to just explore what's happening in the body with your attention. And again, not with any evaluation or judgment, but just with curiosity to know what's happening in the body now. And to feel that directly. We're so used to experiencing life indirectly through the filter of some story. And what we're doing now is to set the story aside and feel, experience directly. And we're less interested in evaluating what's happening. We're more interested in evaluating where our attention is now. Am I focused, alert, aware of what's happening in my body? Or am I lost in a thought? And when we do this, we might experience some discomfort or some withdrawal, because all of us, to some extent, are addicted to thinking. We're addicted to listening to that thought, listening to that voice. And we're all used to following it and doing what it says. So there may be some angst or some withdrawal. And that's okay. We can feel that too. We can directly experience that and allow it to be there and be as it is. If there's somewhere in your body where a sensation is asking for attention, it's calling a little louder. It could be a physical sensation or it could be an emotion. Just take your attention there. Feel the breath. Notice the sensation. Really feel it. And just allow it to be exactly as it is. And you might notice when you put down past, future, you put down evaluation, desire, you put down the I thought, you might notice a sense of simplicity. Or a sense of having put down a heavy burden. There's that voice in your head that creates through story a strong sense of self, the self-image, the story self. And when we're caught up in past and future and desire and fear, then we're lost in this story self. And this is what I call the storyteller's burden. the storyteller being the voice in your head. And it's like loading our backpacks with all these rocks, past, future, self, desire. And when we're lost in those thoughts, it's like we're carrying around this heavy burden. But your true self is this awareness that's watching. Your true self is what notices the thoughts. And so when we put down the storyteller's burden, even for a few minutes, and we acknowledge and notice this awareness, and look from that breath and body and thought, then we might feel the relief of putting down that burden even for a moment. And of course, when we finish this practice and we walk away from this session, we will probably pick that burden up again. But I hope that you might remember that the suffering you experience is not caused by what's happening in life. It's caused by this burden that we're carrying. And the good news is that we have these practices and that we can practice putting this burden down, even for a few minutes. And so when you do walk away and go back into what we call normal life, just remember that underneath that suffering, underneath what you experience, you're always there. The awareness is always there watching, observing. And through breath awareness and body awareness, we can step back into this space of freedom whenever we remember and whenever we choose. So I invite you now to bring your attention back into the room, back into your space, to open your eyes if you've had them closed. Take a moment to just move the body, stretch the body. Don't rush to pick up past and future. Just allow yourself to open your eyes, to be here now. And to just acknowledge the time that you've given to this practice, to yourself. Acknowledge the wonderful curiosity that's there so naturally. And to just appreciate the simplicity of the breath and the body. And for those who are here live right now, just take a moment to invite your reflections, what you noticed, stepping into that space, and any questions you have from today's practice.
I think that was really beautiful. Thank you, Ollie. I've been on Saturday. Had a heated discussion with someone, and even today I'm feeling a lot of anxiety and probably even fear around that. And I've been avoiding feeling the anxiety. So it was, I try to do other avoiding things like, uh, sometimes I want to just sleep and not face the world. So I think it was really good to have that opportunity to kind of feel those emotions um, and rest in my body a bit more. So thanks.
Thank you. What did you notice when you sort of allowed that space or deliberately, experience those feelings? What did you notice happened?
Initially, I did feel some anxiety, sort of like in the pit of my stomach, and then I thought it had gone, but actually I realized it was still there, but it was sort of more like all uh, over my chest because, and I think the reason I knew it was there, or part of the reason was because I was having these thoughts of after this mindfulness, I'm gonna go straight to bed, even though, as you know, it's nearly 12 o'clock in our time, so it's not bedtime. We're not sleepy, or we're not supposed to be sleepy, but I know I still have this desire to hide and avoid, and I did realize it was still there, and so somehow, so in that very quiet space that you helped us create, I was able to connect with it again in the pit of my stomach. Um, yeah, so that's what I noticed. I still I still do notice that I do wanna hide and I do wanna sleep after this. It's yeah, they're strong emotions. Or for me, they're quite strong,
Yeah.
these emotions of fear. But I think part of the practice for me of is to learn to feel them and not be afraid of them, and to be able to learn to do other things that we have to do in daily life while carrying these emotions. Uh, it's not easy for me. Yeah. And,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I think when I started feeling emotions again, like I avoided emotions for good probably 15 years or so, when I started feeling them again, the start was not a lot of fun, and it was really scary sometimes. And it felt like, and it sounds dramatic, but I felt like a character in an adventure story fighting a dragon sort of thing. And that was the kind of fear of it. And it took some time and probably some courage to really go, all right, it's there. I'm going to feel it no matter what. And one day someone said to me, well, it's like you got this little box inside you that's full of emotion that you've suppressed. And part of our practice is to open the box. But it's okay when when you've had enough. It's okay to close the box again and know that you'll get it out tomorrow. But you don't have to, open it all at once. And that was really helpful for me to not be extreme about it either, but to not hide from it and find that kind of middle way of, feeling it, and also just being gentle with myself and being okay with, what I could manage today and what I could process today. So, I hope that's helpful, and I really appreciate your sharing.
Thanks. So is what you did, you just did a bit of feeling when you could, and when you thought, I can't handle this potentially, maybe that's enough for today. You didn't force
Yeah.
yourself to.
Yeah, I think initially I tried to force myself because I wanted to get it over with really quickly. I wanted to avoid it, avoid prolonging it. And then I started sort of meditating most mornings, and I would just sit and I would actually say to myself, okay, feelings, I'm ready, whatever needs to come up. I'd almost invite it to come up, and then I would just sit and feel it. But yeah, there were times when I would say, okay, that's enough for today. I'm gonna go make a sandwich or something, and I would go and just do the normal things that we do. But I found that over time, what happened? Two things happened. The first one was that the feelings became less scary because I got used to feeling them. It's a bit like when you haven't exercised for a long time and you do something and you think, oh my God, I'm going to die. But it's actually, you're just not used to it. And then the next time it's like, oh, okay, that's all right. This is, after a while, it becomes a bit more normal. And the other thing that happened was the intensity of the feelings started to decrease because I was processing them. And what I noticed in daily life was I went from this situation where I would not, I would act happy all the time, and then something small would happen and I'd get really annoyed. And it wasn't actually about the thing that had happened. It was about all the other things, or all the other feelings that I hadn't processed. And I noticed when I started this regular practice of deliberately feeling, then that started to subside pretty quickly as well. So I was more connected to, or what I felt was more in proportion to what was actually happening, instead of having these big explosions over, knocking over a glass of water or something that was pretty insignificant. But yeah, that finding that balance of, not, that we're not avoiding it, but we're being gentle with ourselves too, I think is really helpful.
Thanks. Thanks very much. That gives me hope that if I continue to do this, then I'll be able to manage those feelings. I know psychologists talk about having a stress bucket, and that reminded me of what you said about, with some of us, if we have stress buckets that are either too full or too small, then a small thing can actually make it overflow. And so and mindfulness actually is one of the ways they recommend to poke holes in the stress bucket so that it can flow out.
Yeah.
So,
really cool. Really cool metaphor.
Walter, I was going to say, how long have you been practicing mindfulness for?
Well, to be honest, it's sort of like an on and off thing for me. I think I used to watch Ollie's videos years ago. I remember there was a video around that time when you took 1 minute or something, or 2 minutes to which is actually quite great because I needed to actually see it but you took 2 minutes or something to boil some water.
The kettle, yeah.
Yeah, and we're just watching you watch it, and practicing mindfulness doing it, and I thought that was really valuable because all the other teachers would just say, why don't you practice mindfulness when you're brushing your teeth or when you're making tea or whatever? But to actually see someone do it made it much more concrete for me about how to do it and less theoretical. And I could say, oh, that's what it looks like. So, and that video I think is from quite a while ago. So I'm just brought that up to show you my history. I think there's probably still a lot of potentially confusion in me about how to do it right. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So that's part of my journey of maybe not continuing it as well, Linz. So that's why I thought this today was really great opportunity, because just like what you were saying, Ollie, sometimes when we try mindfulness or when we try to feel our feeling, we want to we'll get up and leave. We say after 5 minutes, I might say, oh, that's enough. I'll do something else now. But being here with you all is, it makes me have more of a discipline to say, no, I'm going to sit here and try it for the duration. So yeah, thanks. Yeah.
I think thanks, Ollie. And I think where it's so late here, I was a little stressed about the time. And when you're talking about projections in the future, I was doing exactly that, because I was like, well, this late hour is going to impact on tomorrow. So I was struggling to calm my mind down, and it kept on reminding me, it's very late. So, which it is.
Yeah.
However,
That's very early.
I was like, yeah. But I still felt it was beneficial, and struggling to watch those thoughts go really helps, because obviously you can use this, or in daily life when the time is more appropriate. But it's just being able to do it when you need, regardless of the time, and it's taking control of those thoughts and just watching them go and going back to breathing. So it really does help. But it was a challenge. But I did get into it as well.
Oh, good. So you're pretty committed, turning up at 2 a.m. to come along and sit with us. It's definitely appreciated.
Oh, no. The pleasure's all mine. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, well, go on, Melsa.
I really like also how, from what I sense, you allow us to put our attention on, or correct me if I'm wrong, but just put our attention on whatever we feel we want to in our body or in our breath, or our emotions. It's because sometimes when I've been taught mindfulness or meditation in the past, it's a very strict focus on your breath, and sometimes for different reasons, like whether it's sometimes that gets very boring, or sometimes that gets quite difficult. And I think by having an attention on whether it's your emotions or your thoughts or breath or your body, I think it's a bit gentler, rather than just having to rein it in just to one very small spot, say like your nostrils, or feeling the breath on your nostrils. So is that right? You can just direct your attention to wherever you want, or should there be more discipline that you should only?
No, look, for me, like the discipline is maybe about the regularity of practice, where we might need some more discipline to keep doing it regularly. But within the practice, for me, I want it to be more like play, where we're curiously exploring what is going on with this sense of kind of wonder and interest. Because I think it's easy for it to become quite heavy and serious and like this spiritual quest that we're on, when really it's about, for me, I want it to be really lighthearted and enjoyable, and that we're kind of learning about ourselves by looking. So yeah, I like that more openness of, well, maybe you're following your breath, but maybe you notice a pain in your shoulder, and that's asking for some attention. So let's notice that. Or, maybe there's something, you can hear the birds singing outside, and that's really beautiful, and you want to listen to that. Because all we're doing is pulling attention out of that thought stream and really investing it in our direct experience now. So whatever we're experiencing doesn't really matter too much. It's that process of shifting attention that's important. So yeah, whatever your attention kind of falls on is fine.
Thanks, Ollie. That's really helpful and beautiful. Thanks.
Thank you. Well,
Yeah,
I might leave
thanks
you
very
there,
much.
guys. Yeah, thanks, Linz. Thanks, Walter. Thanks, everyone who's watching on Catch Up. And I will be back 11 o'clock Melbourne time next Tuesday. For anyone else who wants to join in, I'm sending out the link through my email list, and it's also my Facebook group's Mindfulness with Ollie Doyle, and I post on there with links and reminders for anyone who's watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast. So thanks, guys. Have an awesome day and or awesome night and tomorrow, Linz. And hope to see you next week, maybe.
Thanks so much, Ollie. I'm really grateful. Cheers.
Thanks, Walter. Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.